ENFJ face a loop, what it means and how to break free. For the extroverted personality types, going into their loop means they turn to their extrovert functions. This isn't immediately a bad or negative thing, and sometimes it occurs under stress as a means of helping the person navigate whatever challenges they are facing. At first, it can cause them to turn towards parts of themselves they normally would not, applying pressure to a function that isn't as natural or strong for them. It can help the individual figure out some things they are struggling with, but if this goes on for too long, it can certainly become unhealthy for them. When they get in this loop for long periods of time, they definitely need a means of breaking free before it applies too much stress to their weaker functions and leaves them feeling emotionally and mentally exhausted. For the ENFJ, their loop is them focusing on their extrovert functions and neglecting their introverted ones. The ENFJ becomes hyper-focused on their dominant and tertiary functions, which are their fey and say. Instead of allowing their auxiliary and introverted intuition, to help them process the world around them, the ENFJ bypasses this function. This is something that often occurs under serious times of stress, or when something has shaken up their lives and caused a change which makes them revert to other means of responding to things and solving problems. While it might not be a bad thing at first, the ENFJ is likely behaving in ways that are not normal for them at all. Eventually, this can become draining for them and those around them. ENFJs normally rely on introverted intuition. While their dominant function is their extrovert feeling, fey, the ENFJ uses their auxiliary introverted intuition, NI, in order to process and collect information. They filter what they see in the world around them, and use this information to make decisions based on the most likely future outcomes. This helps the ENFJ understand people better when combined with their fey and gives them a great ability to connect with and help those around them. With the use of their NI, the ENFJ isn't solely focused on tending to the feelings of others, but they also have goals and things they want to achieve in life. This helps them to focus on building something more than just obsessing over image and what others expect from them. Their NI makes the ENFJ deep thinkers, connected to their inner minds and ability to predict certain future outcomes. The face loop in ENFJs. Without the ENFJ's introverted functions, they rely only on their extrovert feeling and extrovert sensing functions. This causes the ENFJ to become obsessed with their image, turning to others in order to gauge what they should be doing. They will constantly seek validation from those around them and the outside world. The ENFJ becomes much more conscious of their image, and crafting one which will be impressive to others. They also become caught up in the physical world and materialistic things. They might feel like they need to acquire and obtain certain items in order to feel like they are worthy or accomplished. Instead of trusting in themselves and their intuition, the ENFJ trusts what others want or expect from them. They will constantly turn to other people, but also to their outer image and societal pressures. The ENFJ in their loop doesn't look inward for validation and no longer relies on their intuition, which is meant to help them trust more in themselves and their own morals and knowledge. While ENFJs are naturally social people, when they are in their loop, they become almost anxious if they aren't around others. They become obsessed with these friendships and connections, wanting to always be surrounded by others and some sort of exciting activity. They become so overly self-sacrificing that they can lose sight of who they are and what they feel. They almost lose their own identity and sense of self in order to make other people happy around them. In some cases, the ENFJ can even become rather manipulative in this loop, wanting to control their environment and maintain connections by any means possible. They lose sight of what truly matters to them and become caught up in the external world. They seem to live more for the present moment, rather than thinking long-term about their real goals and relationships. Their overactive empathy prevents them from focusing on the relationships that matter to them, since they want to be able to please everyone in the present moment. How to escape the ENFJ loop? The only way to escape the loop is to focus on the functions which are being neglected. The ENFJ must draw towards their introverted intuition, which means relying on themselves and their gut. Instead of focusing on spending time with others, the ENFJ can actually benefit from some alone time. They need to be more introspective, doing things like reading or writing and finding ways to enjoy the silence. In their loop, they become hypersocial, and so the ENFJ needs to take time to focus on themselves and look inward a bit. Relying on their introverted intuition will help the ENFJ maintain balance, so they have to find ways to reconnect with this part of themselves. It starts with spending time alone, doing things they enjoy without others pressuring them with their feelings. It isn't necessarily an easy step, but this is the best way for the ENFJ to find that connection to their NI. They might feel a bit guilty initially, not wanting to upset people or make them feel bad because they are distancing themselves for a little while.